This is Tom Fox back again with Sam Silverstein for another of our continuing webinars on corporate culture. Today, we feel like we have perhaps one of our most important sessions with you, and that's because of the recent announcement by the Trump administration of the suspension, enforcement, and investigations under the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So let me get our slide deck up here. I certainly feel that the following, and I know Sam does as well, that this announcement by the Trump administration makes corporate culture even more important now. And we both believe that now is the time to focus on your culture for several different reasons, one of which is because of the lack of threat, the lack of a stick, the lack of a something above us in the enforcement realm. People may think now's the time to have your culture slide. We're going to try to explain why now it's even more important for you to pay attention to your culture. I mentioned the administration's announcement. What happened was Trump issued an executive order suspending FCPA investigations and enforcement for 1 year. During that 1 year period, the Department of Justice is going to assess how it wants to move forward for FCPA enforcement. So until we get guidance from the current Department of Justice, we can't tell you precisely what's going to happen. All we know at this point is there's been a suspension. So some of the questions that I want to pose, and I open with, is what does this mean for culture? I think it means culture is even more important now. They say ethics and culture is either what you do when no one's around or what you do in the dark. Now is the time for you to focus on that in your organization. What if there's no stick? I think it's, number one, meaningless, because having a great culture benefits you from a business perspective. But if there are those in your organization who are concerned about that stick, now is the time to find that out. And now is the time. I've spoken to compliance professionals who are unsure about what this might mean for compliance. And my response is, this should be viewed as an opportunity. This is the opportunity for us in compliance to demonstrate to senior executives, to boards of directors, senior management, and the rest of the company that the process that we go through for compliance makes a company better run, better organized, and more efficient, at the end of the day, more profitable. Sam and I want to talk to you today about how the culture audit can help you in that process. Sam, I'm going to flip this over to you and to ask you about the future of human capital. And it really just start off with, what does culture mean for employee attraction? And then if you want to follow directly with retention.
So thanks, Tom. And it's always great doing these together and being able to share and create a conversation, not only for those people who are online, but anyone that may be watching the recording. And so welcome, and we're always open to additional conversations afterwards. The interesting thing is, I think that now what's going to happen is the organizations that have the strongest workplace culture are going to start thriving, and the gap is going to expose itself. The gap's going to widen, and we're going to see really who is on their A game and who isn't. If you're doing things because the law says you have to do it, and that's something that's connected to ethics, then there's going to be an issue there. And that's a conversation, Tom. The fact that the DOJ is not going to be enforcing certain laws, which to me, it's like, if we have a law, why wouldn't you enforce it? Separate conversation. Now what's going to happen is those organizations that have the strongest cultures are going to rise to the top. And I always believe that culture pays. In other words, when you create a high-performance, sustainable workplace culture, one that prioritizes and values people, over time, those organizations are going to be more profitable. It's going to show up on the bottom line. And one of the ways that it shows up on the bottom line is through your first question, which is about employee attraction. The reality is that I want to go to work for a great organization. I want to go to work for an organization that's known for being ethical. I want to go to work for an organization that's known as a leader in the industry. I want to go to work for and work with leaders that are great leaders, that are accountable leaders. And so those organizations that create this kind of culture, the kind of culture that you and I talk about and that we teach here at the Accountability Institute how to create and how to build, they're always going to attract the best people. And it just makes sense. If you have the best people, you're going to win. Now think about that. If you have the leaders of the industry, you're going to outperform your competition. Let's go back to the Olympics, to the original dream team. They assembled the best basketball players in the world. And what happened at the Olympics? They destroyed everybody in a competitive environment. They won big, they dominated. It's the same way in business. And we work with clients that over the years, as they've developed their culture and they've refined their culture, they notice that the top people from the industry are coming to them. And when the top people come to you, now think about this. If someone leaves my company and they're like great, a number one salesperson, or they're the number one engineer, or they're the number one accountant, it really doesn't matter. They leave my company, Tom, and they come to your company's going to get better, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Not only that, my company's getting worse because I just lost top talent. And so it not only is a great culture going to draw in great people, it's going to help you retain great people, because why would I leave if I'm happy where I'm at? And when people do leave to go to work for a better culture, one that's defined by a meaningful set of values that's based on people, not policies, values, then those companies are going to attract people, they're going to retain those people, and they're going to excel over time. And obviously, as I said, this is all going to show up on the bottom line. That's why accountability and culture pays.
So let me change the focus just a little bit, because you
Okay.
have consistently talked about culture driving innovation. And I bring that up today specifically for a reason, which is I mentioned that I think this is an opportunity for corporate compliance officers. And that opportunity is to show how the business process of compliance makes your company stronger and more profitable. How does culture, having a great culture, drive innovation in a company and allow a function like a corporate compliance function to bring innovative tech or innovation to an overall business process?
It's interesting. I was working with a group of CEOs one time, and one of the leaders said that disruptive technology was putting him out of business. This innovation by competitors was putting him out of business. And so my question to him was, where's your innovation? And there's a reason why some companies are highly innovative and some aren't. And that reason comes back to the culture. Is there a culture of innovation? And so is that something that's built into your culture? So have you created a workplace culture, first of all, that's safe? That's safe, that it doesn't matter what you look like, how you talk, where your degree is from, that everyone gets treated equally, that the values apply the same to you as they do to me, where when I speak up around the table, that I'm recognized, I'm heard, that I feel safe, that I can say something and it won't come back to haunt me, that I feel safe, that, you know what, if I make a mistake, but the decision was connected to the values, that I'm not going to be chastised for something not working. I'm going to be supported because I made decisions that connect to the values and I'm trying things. When you create that kind of environment, that's culture, then what happens is you're rewarding innovation. You're rewarding innovation. And it goes back, a good friend of mine, Don Wainwright, used to be the CEO and president of a company, Wainwright Industries. They won the Malcolm Baldrige Award, and which is the top U.S. quality award. And they weren't the biggest company. They only had like about, I think at the time that we were talking, they had 3,400 employees. And he's over lunch one day, he said, Sam, we have a suggestion box. And I'm thinking, that's not really an original idea. We all know what a suggestion box is. It's that white box on the wall. And if you walk by and you run your finger across the top, your finger is going to be dirty. He said, we average one suggestion per employee per week. Now think about that. That's 3,400 suggestions a week. Now, you want innovation, you have everyone in your organization creating ideas that connect back to safety, new ideas, process improvement, employee safety, customer experience excellence. That's innovation. But Tom, what has to be in place for the people to be willing to put in a suggestion a week?
Trust.
Yeah. They have to trust that their opinions or their thoughts or their ideas will be evaluated. They have to trust that they won't be chastised for an idea that maybe when it's evaluated in depth doesn't make sense or doesn't work out. They have to trust that leadership is going to take the good ideas and not look for a way out, but look for a way in, a reason to take these ideas and implement them and make them happen. And so when you create that kind of environment in an organization, you're going to drive innovation. It's not that you're more innovative than I am or I'm more innovative than you, but if the environment that you're in penalizes you for trying to be innovative, then you're not going to be. And if my environment rewards me for being innovative, then I will be.
So, Sam, I really want to now turn to leadership's role in this. And you have worked with leaders for most of your consulting career. You've helped them to understand what it is to be a leader. In my opinion, in 2025 is even more challenging than I think it has been. Although you have been a leader in the business, and you may say, Tom, we had challenges in the 80s and 90s that were just as big as challenges in 2025. But you talk to leaders, you talk to companies constantly. What does it mean to be a leader in 2025?
That's a powerful question, Tom. And I'm going to go back to what you said. I don't know that being a leader today is different than being a leader 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 1,000 years ago. I don't know that it's going to be different in 1,000 years. I believe the leadership is always, every time, without doubt, about the people that you lead. That the greatest leaders, what we call accountable leaders, are the ones that put the safety and the success of their people at the paramount. That's what they're all about. I have to make sure that my people are safe, both emotionally and physically, and I ensure their success. It's not that they ensure my success. And when leadership looks at things that way, when they see their people differently, when they treat them differently, they get a different result. And to me, a leader is all about, it's very simple. I don't care if you have 2 employees or 20,000 or 200,000. If you can position them for success, then the organization is going to be successful. Now, if you look at your people as a means to an end, and you look at them as things rather than individuals, then you're seeing them differently, you're treating them differently, you get a different result. And to me, it's always about looking at your people and serving their needs and let them look at the bottom line. As a leader, you don't have to look at the bottom line. If you're taking care of your people, they'll take care of the bottom line for you because they would rather die than let you down, because they know as a leader, you would rather die than let them down.
We often hear, certainly in the compliance world, about a culture of speak up that was enshrined in law, starting with Sarbanes-Oxley back from Enron and WorldCom scandals. But now we've moved to something that's a little bit different, which is a culture of listen up. You have talked about both of these topics for quite some time. Could you explain to us the difference in speak up and listen up, and how you advocate leaders and others move to simply from speak up to listen up?
There's so many conversations we can have about different topics, and one of the analogies that always pops up is what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And I think that applies here, and I think it's pretty definite that you can figure this out. Why would I speak up if I know you as a leader aren't listening up? And that's the bottom line. When the leadership shows that they care and they're listening and they want to know, how do they do that? Not by saying I have an open door policy. I knew one leader, he literally took the door physically off the hinges and leaned it up against the wall. That's cute, that's nice, but that really doesn't do anything. No, A true leader is out with the people, touching the people, getting hands-on in the environment, going, what's happening here? What's going on with your family? What's going on with your life? What's happening in the organization at this level? How can we be better? How can I serve you better? What resources and tools do you need? When you create pathways, highways of communication from the leadership to the people, and you show them that you care, show them that you're not just listening, you're searching for information, you're creating that environment, that culture that inspires them to want to speak up, to want to share, to want to give you that feedback. And then when you take that information and you take action based on that, then they will repeat that and they'll do it again because you're rewarding that behavior. So I believe it starts with listening up from the leader standpoint, but not just listening. I think it goes beyond that. I think it's like searching. You're really proactively going to your people. And when you see that as a responsibility as a leader, then things are going to evolve and things are going to change in a positive way.
Sam, what can or should a leader do to prevent a disconnect between speaking up and listening up?
If I understand you properly here, I think that's about taking action. Listening up is not just about hearing words, it's about doing something with it. And so the disconnect comes when leaders aren't doing their end of the deal, they're not upholding their end of the bargain, then everyone else isn't going to uphold theirs, they're not going to speak up. Why would I share if you're not going to do anything with the information? So to me, it's still, look, if there's a problem in an organization, it's always at the leadership level. It's never at the front line. It's, Tom, you and I met at a conference years ago. When we met, there was a panel discussion at that conference in the morning. I was keynoting after lunch. And we were in that room and there were 4 leaders on the platform and they were talking about, we have PR department, we have people telling us what to say, yada, yada, yada. If there's a problem, the problem is at mid-level management, which I don't like that term anyway, because I don't want someone managing people. I want someone leading people at all levels. And when I opened my program, shortly after I opened it, I said, if there's a problem in an organization, it's never at mid-level. It's always at the senior level. That may manifest itself at the mid-level leaders may be terrible, but if they are, it's because senior level leaders hired the wrong people, trained them improperly, didn't set the right example, didn't give them the resources, the authority, the responsibility. If you want in an organization, you want people speaking up, it's on leadership's shoulders to be listening up.
This is one of my favorite quotes, and it comes to us from a fellow named Bob Conlon. Bob was the first CEO at Navex. He's recently been reappointed to this role, and it is a speak up culture exists only when it is paired with a true listen up culture. And Bob was really one of the first to say this publicly in the compliance world. So I always cite to him for this, and it seems to sum up pretty much what you said, Sam.
Wow, I would have to say Bob's a pretty smart guy.
He went to the University of Michigan.
There you go. Go blue. Yeah,
Go blue.
no, that's exactly what I was saying. And I think it holds water. And so the question as a leader, because leaders are going to be leaders that are either listening live or leaders that are going to be watching the replay. My question to you is, what are you doing to proactively listen up? What steps are you taking to get closer to your people, to create those channels of communication? Just saying you have an open door policy doesn't cut it. Everyone says that, but not everyone even means it.
Sam, we just had a comment come in from one of our listeners, which suggests you need a listening strategy. Is that something that you've advocated, you agree with, or what might be your thoughts on having a real strategy around listening?
There's 2 things, and one goes back to the suggestion box that I mentioned. Listening means having a system in place that handles all those suggestions that come in on a timely basis. They get evaluated. If they should be implemented, they are put on a schedule to get implemented. That's reacting to people sharing. That's listening. But the other is what I already mentioned, and that is, what's your plan for getting out and touching people, connecting in a relationship? Because when you build relationship, you build communication, you build accountability. And that's where true listening is going to happen. I totally agree with Ernie. And I think it's not just about what comes to you, but I think what's your plan for getting out? And there are leaders that just make a point of in the morning, they spend a certain amount of time on the production floor, or they travel around to a certain number of their locations, or whatever it is. But I know one CEO that when he took on an executive assistant just so he could offload responsibilities, so he could have more time to just spend with the people. He just wanted to be with his people. That is an active listening strategy.